1.1.4 Variable Design Artifacts Challenge. A personal story to start off with. Some 15 years ago, I was working at Dell on a global e-commerce project, whereby they planned to design one website layout to accommodate 40 countries and 60 languages as a form of online global branding initiative. Well, they invited a multitude of big vendor teams to bid on this project. As we listened to each sales pitch, one vendor team enthusiastically stated that they have 25 different UI and information architecture models to capture every nuance of our business logic and e-commerce clientele needs. My director leaned over to me and stated, "I betcha they also charge us 25 different prices as well." Well, this got me thinking back then. Exactly how many UI conception models do we really need? What is the bare bones end-to-end UI and information architecture models that we can leverage from capturing raw business flow logic into a definable UI mockup for final handoff to IT dev teams to implement? Not being a tease, I discovered one only needed 4 types of UI models for end-to-end conception to delivery. But we will discuss this in greater detail in upcoming presentation sections. Back to our current slide. I, for one, have personally encountered 7 different conception models being used across the business enterprise, depending on which business or IT stakeholder teams one liaison with. From examples in the slides, they include, starting at top left, number 1, Business Whiteboard, which is just a top-level business raw conception of the business logic to be fulfilled. Its purpose is simply to capture down in graphical format the abstract logic being discussed. It's good for starters, but designers will need to literally put more meat on the bones for this raw abstract logic to be useful in actual UX UI mockups. Number 2, flowchart. Used mainly by IT folks. This captures every possible execution logic the website or web app will undertake. Usually, this is way too detailed for our needs in UX UI design. From personal experience, one will actually spend more time updating this flowchart model than designing the UI mockup itself. Number 3, UI wireframes, low fidelity. For UX UI designers, this is a good optimal solution for UI mockup conception. It is devoid of all enriched graphics and color. Layout is basic black, white, grayscale, and includes only basic display elements of a specific web page or web app. Because not all business stakeholders will care for intricacies of software and hardware technology, but all of them will have an opinion about color and icons usage. So if you start your UI project with enriched media, colors, and icons, then no one will be talking about the mission-critical UI flow from web page to fulfill the online business logic. Instead, everyone will start talking about color hues and icon sizes, like one team prefer powder baby blue as master header banner, while another team insists on fuchsia hot pink. So it is like chasing down a rabbit hole or herding cats. Hence, it is best to avoid this pitfall in project commencement. Number 4, hierarchy modules. You all have seen this type of model before, used as organization chart, showcasing who reports to who in what state departmental agency or corporate division. The organization chart is simply repositioned here to showcase how UI modules in relationship to each other within a hierarchy structure. Each module represents one web page or unique UI interaction to be completed or transitioned through by the end user before accessing subordinate UI modules below. This model type is also excellent for UX UI design, since with one visual cue, both business stakeholders, designers, and developers can see overall wide spectrum of interdependent UI modules in fulfilling the website or web app interactivity. Number 5, data flow diagrams is primarily the venue of IT developers. They use it to track how data or information itself is transitioned through which data repository or transformed as it intermixes with other data sets. It may become useful to UX UI design on a as-needed basis in showcasing how information is transformed on each UI module or web page. But this model is usually relegated to database design by the IT dev team. Number 6, use case flow, also called use case diagrams. Although simple in format, this type of model is extremely important to commencement of any UX UI design project. I personally cannot emphasize this enough. This model literally transcribes the raw business logic required to support the online function into an abstract graphical format so that with one visual cue, all stakeholders can see exactly how the website or web app should work from an abstract high level. From a UX UI designer angle, this is where one can begin to ascertain where are the mission-critical business logic flow and choke points. Thus, using one's creativity, begin to assess and assemble the needed UI module sequences to support this business logic flow. Once the modules are defined, then we begin to design wireframes and enrich media for each of the defined web page. Hence, great emphasis is placed on this use case diagram to point to us designers in the right direction. Number 7, UI wireframe high fidelity. This is related to number 3, UI wireframe low fidelity model, used to create the bare bones and required UI display elements in each UI mockup. Its high fidelity version will in essence put meat on the bones of the UI mockup with branded color palettes, lifestyle imagery, product photography, graphical icon sets, and even localization language samples if needed. For practicality, this model can be used as a snapshot of what the actual UI webpage will look like, thus allowing the business stakeholders to chime in with their reviews, refinements, and commentary for final deliverable. In summation, for all the showcased UI models, key caveat is to harness synergetic cross-enterprise effort. This will require a commonality of design models and artifacts, which will enable quick review and edit of design artifacts without having to translate previously completed work from one application format to another, thus reduce cycle time and enhance faster stepwise refinement of business logic flows to UI application design.